Hey there. We are about four trading days into 2026, and the market's been there's been a lot of action in the market. So let me catch you up quickly as to what's been happening in the last few days. So without further ado, let me just go to Seeking Alpha here. I'm going to start with the index. If you look at Dow, it's been up about 2%, just under 2% for the year. And if you look at Nasdaq, that is also, yeah, that's about 1.5% up, right? So it's been more up days so far. And if you look, uh, the first day of the year, the first trading day in the first week, which is the shorter week, the Friday, the market did go down, if memory serves me right. But since then, it's primarily been an upward trend. Today, I think Dow did drop 400 points or so. The last 2 days, it probably was up like close to collectively about 1,000 points. Let's look at on the second trading day of the year, which is the first day of this first full trading week of the year, the week ending January 9th. Um, let's look at Micron. Let's look at some of the semiconductor companies, right? So I'll do year to date. That's crazy. It's about a 19% up just in the first 4 days of this year. It actually dropped a percent today. So all of this probably as of yesterday it was like 20% up. So Micron is one. Let's look at Seagate year to date. Yeah, they're about 12% up, despite the fact that they dropped close to a 7% today. So you can tell that, on that first trade, the second trading day of the year, the first of this week, all of these semiconductor and related companies were high. So let's look at Nvidia for the year. It's about 1.4% up. There's been a lot of action and there's been healthy trading volume, actually, right? Not so much last week, but this week, the last couple of days, there's been a lot of action, right? There's a lot of the trading volume has been higher than average, I think, for the most part. So that's Nvidia. What else can we look at? There was a number of companies I was looking at, like on Monday, which almost all of them, the semiconductor related companies. Let's look at what happened with AMD. Oh, they are actually down for the year. So it looks like they were up on Jan 2nd and then they've been dropping. So looks like one of them has been uh, trading differently from the pack there, AMD. What else can we look at? Let's look at Oracle. Well, they're about a percent down. I'm forgetting something. It was Micron, and I want to actually also look at App Loving, not a semiconductor company, but regardless, I think. Oh no, they've dropped about a 6%, right? Despite the fact they're up 2.5 today. So there's a few more companies I want to look at here. Let me look at I guess the hyperscalers, or let me go to the my AI portfolio to see if that jogs my memory. Let's see. Zscaler is up about 2%. And today I think there was still a lot of action today. Let's look at actually. I'm picking a random list of these securities that come to my mind. Yeah, Carvana is up about a 7% this year already. And I think Shake Shack, oh, it's up about 11.5%, right? And I think yesterday, right? Yeah, they had a pretty good day. So the market, Dow was up like about 1,000 points so far. Let me make sure I'm getting the numbers right here. So if I go to Dow and year to date, yeah, I think they started like 48,000. Yeah, close to 1,000 points, right? Just because they dropped about 500 points today. If not, they were well above 1,000 points in the last 2 days. Um, what other things did I want to see? Actually, you know what? Amazon. They've had a pretty good year so far, 4.65%. But if you actually ignore the first day, the last 3 days, I want to say they've been up three, maybe close to a 4% yesterday. And they had a pretty good day today before they actually started dropping right about like 2 o'clock. A lot of these hyperscalers actually had a downward trend this afternoon. So if you look at Apple, yep, they were here as well. What's interesting is, if you see that around 2:30, they were $262. They dropped a person in the last 1 hour. And if you look at Datadog, it had a pretty interesting day as well. So I was actually, we were pretty actively trading Datadog around here. I wish we had held it a bit longer for it to drop. We had shorted it somewhere around here, but I think we didn't wait long enough. And in hindsight, I wish we had. So it opened at like $138.65. What, like about 3 hours in, $7. That's what, about 5.5% up. And then from 12:45 to about an hour and a half later, they dropped around $6, right? That's 4%. So you can tell that there was a lot of activity there. And in terms of their actual, I mean, Datadog is a much smaller company, right, compared to the ones we just saw earlier, the hyperscalers and whatnot. But they're still big, and they're pretty big. They're about $50 billion. Their trading volume on an average, I believe, is like, I think this might be today's trade volume. I don't know. I don't know if this is the average. Not sure what Seeking Alpha shows here. If memory serves me right, they did trade very well today. There's a lot of volume, right? As far as Datadog was concerned. What else were we looking at today? We have a winners and losers that we capture. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Warby Parker. You probably know this. It's like the optical store. They've had a pretty good. Let's look at the last month, 31%. I believe they're partnering with Alphabet, which has changed everything. That news came out about a month ago, and you can see it reflected in the stock value here. So November 17th, was it like just less than 2 months ago? But 7 weeks ago, they were at $16 and now $27, right? Oh my goodness, that's like over 60% up if my mental math is more or less accurate. They've had a very good 2 months essentially. And year to date, they're still up 24.23%. That's incredible. These are some of the securities that I remember, actively looking at, but I'm pretty sure I'm missing something that I want to share. Let's see if looking at the tickers, if that jogs my memory. Oh yeah, Taiwan Semiconductors. I was worried actually this week if the market was actually going to, the news came out on Saturday about Venezuela. So I was thinking maybe the market's going to actually plunge on Monday, but it was quite the opposite. It's been doing very well. And clearly, the Wall Street seems to like that news. If I have to just take it at face value. Taiwan Semiconductors, they've gone up about 4%. The last 1 month, they've gone 6.65%. They dropped like close to 3% today, but if not, you can see that they were about 8% up in the first couple of days of this year. And Alphabet, of course, the last 6 months, they're 81% up. Wow. This is, they won the antitrust lawsuit. It was in DC, and they won that, and everything has been good news since then. A while ago, not what seems like not too long ago, there was a question about, there was an existential threat, so to speak, whether search is going to remain relevant given AI and results and hyperlinks not being necessarily just as necessary, because search returns your results, and chat gpt and perplexity and whatnot. But I haven't heard of any of those things the last 2 months or so. It's just been good news after good news, and them having doing very well in the space of AI, and most likely probably going to partner with other companies like Apple, for instance. So they are probably one of the top picks for a lot of the analysts actually this year, if I'm not wrong. They've had an incredible run, but their PE ratio is not bad at all, right? It says the forward PE ratio is like under 30. If you look at Amazon, which actually had a very quiet last year, the whole year, that it shows 1 year 8.76% up. That's including the almost 7% up in the last 3 days or so. So they had a very quiet 2025. Hopefully they'll have probably hopefully a much better 2026. But regardless, right? Even though they did not go up last year, they went up very little. Their price earnings forward PE ratio is like 34, right? Much higher than Alphabet, and a whole lot higher than Meta, for instance. Meta probably is the the best in the pack here. When if you just took one of the financial metrics, which is the forward PE ratio, yeah, it's 25.96. I mean, um, so let's see. In the last 1 year, yeah, they had a pretty good year till they reported earnings toward the latter part of last year. Was that when was earnings? Last earnings was in December. Um, oh, it says Oh, it says October. Was that long ago? It doesn't feel like that. Yeah, because Mark Zuckerberg had said that they were going to spend a lot more money on AI, and the market didn't react very well to it because of the capex spend going up. So they dropped quite a bit, right? They were like around $750 just before the earnings. They reported earnings. They dropped almost 15 or 18%, if not more. But they caught up. They've caught up since. The lowest was $589, and now they're like around $60, like over 10% more, right? They actually went up to 661 or 673 during the day intraday, a month or so ago, like last month. But they've dropped about what do I say, 670, um, $20, right? About 3 to 4% is has been the drop since that peak after their plunge after they reported earnings. So that's sort of what's going on in the stock market at the highest levels. It's the year so far. There's been a lot of action, healthy trading volume. Oh yeah, actually now I remember what I want to show. Financial companies, they've had a pretty good run as well. Citi was down a person, but they're up 4%. Let's look at JP Morgan. I'm just looking at it for the year. JP Morgan, 1.4. Let's look at Wells Fargo, 1 point. I think, oh, yeah, they dropped about a 2% today. If not, they were up almost 3%, a little bit more. And that's kind of what seems to have happened today. Let's see. I want to show one more thing. Was it? I mean, you can't end a conversation or a monologue about securities and trading without, Tesla in the mix of things, right? So they're down 4% for the year. Yeah, they've gone. If you're a day trader, you got to be really careful for n number of reasons, and if you're trading securities like Tesla, you got to be even more careful because things change all the time and very quickly. That tells you, right, around 319, just the last hour, 45 minutes, I guess they dropped about 1.5%, right? So, yeah, I mean, it's like, I'll take an analogy. If you're somebody who watches cricket or has ever watched cricket, it's a sport, a popular sport, a British sport played in few parts of the world, a lot, the most popular sport in India, for instance. Uh, they have many versions of the game, but long story short, the not the shortest version of the game, which is runs about 3 hours or so, the mid version, which is a day long, which is shorter than the longer lengthier version, which is 5 days long. They have, it's called 50 overs. It's about 3 hours, 3.5 hours per team, and then the other team comes and plays afterwards. There's usually a lull before the storm, right? The first 10 overs or so, right? They call it the power play. I'm sure these rules have changed. I haven't watched it in a long time. Things are pretty quiet. Things are not quiet in the first half hour or so. There's a lot of action, and then things become much quieter. And then when that session ends for that team, there's a lot more action. To me, the stock market, from a day trading standpoint, is not very different. And even if you took really stable companies, right, companies that are not a day trading, not necessarily day traders' dream, things like Apple, companies like Apple don't move a whole lot, to be honest with you. But you can still see there's plenty of movement in the last hour or so, right? So that's the last 1 hour or the first half hour or 1 hour. There is going to be a lot of trading volume, for instance. So before I end the podcast, let me go to one of the tools that I use, and let's look at maybe let's look at CoreWeave, right? A much smaller company, but typically has a lot of action. Let me go to the chart here. And then let's see if I move this. If you look at the actual trading volume, yep, if I just did, you see 930, about, I don't know, it says this is a 5 minute, and this is in the 5 minute interval. 430,000 shares were traded, a little bit over 200,000 the next 5 minutes, then 265,000, and then it starts slowing down. I mean, CoreWeave trades quite a bit, right? So this is not a reflection of other companies in general, but you can still see the numbers go down. It was like 90,000, 50,000 somewhere here, 42,000. What is it, like 60,000, 44,000, much quieter. And then the last 10 minutes or so, the last 5 minutes, you can see that it's gone back to like close to a million, right? This is probably going to be very similar for other companies as well. Let me pull up Apple. So it was like about 1.7 million shares traded in the first 5 minutes, then it's close to 700,000 next 5 minute intervals. And then it's come down the middle of the day to like 160,000, 200,000, 150,000. And then you can see the last half an hour it starts picking up, half a million, close to half a million. And then it ended with like 7.2 million. Wow. And that's 2.2 million, right? I mean, it dropped in the last 8 minutes or so, and then it caught up a bit. That's probably what the green bar here is. So that tells you that the trading action is also specific to the part of that day. But if you're not a day trader, this honestly should not mean anything to you. It means nothing, absolutely nothing. But if you are a day trader, this might be of interest. So yeah, we just got a feel for this year so far. Things have generally been upwards. So and it's been up for a fair bit. Before we end, maybe let's go back to Seeking Alpha. Let's look at Nasdaq, and let's look at the chart for the last 1 month, right? Well, it shows minus point last 6 months. Yeah, 15.5% up. But if you just took one of those values here, like this November 20th, which is what, 2, 6, about 7 weeks, right? 7 weeks, 22,078 to 23,584. That's about 1,500 points. You take that, that's about, what is it? Wow. That's 1,000, what did I say? 1,500 points. 10% is 2,200 points, right? So this 1% is 220 points. So it's about maybe 7 to 8% up in the last 7 weeks or so. So you can see that the trend has been upwards. We'll see how the rest of this week and the rest of the month goes. Well, I'll keep you posted by sharing these every so often, right? Hopefully it is of some use to you. Before I end the podcast, if you haven't checked out the product suite that we have at Snowpal, please do so. You can start with by going to products.snowpal.com, and you can discover all of our content, both the podcast, solo, collaborative, and our courses, the APIs on AWS Marketplace, our mobile app, the web app for project management. I mean, we have a bunch of products you can just start here and work your way through. And if you're building software, which I hope you are in 2026, you definitely are going to be using AI tools, but you want to use rich APIs with AI to actually help you build your software in the quickest possible time with the least amount of risk. And if that's something you want to be able to do, hit us up. We'll tell you how you could integrate our APIs. We have like a number of them on AWS Marketplace, which are available either to be consumed by usage on the marketplace, or you can purchase a license from us, and you should be good to go, and you can run that in your own infrastructure. So that's about it. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.